Hello, hello. This is Yuri with Let's Talk Moving and Moving Sales Professionals. And with me today, I got the Mr. Car Shipper, Jerry Teeter, the CEO of Mr. Car Shipper, with over 22 years in business, specializing in car shipping for long distance movers. The preferred shipping partner of UPAC, Pods, and 1-800 Pack Rat. Also, you used to be one of the three car shippers for Unigroup, which is, of course, the parent company for United and Mayflower. How you doing today, Jerry?
Good. Thank you for having me on.
Great, great, great to have you. So, why the moving industry?
Like you said, I've been in business here for about 22 years, and we've done everything from, car dealers to internet vehicles. And for the last 10 years, we've been solely focused on the moving industry. And I love working with consumers. We're more of a B2C type business here, and I love working with consumers where we can actually make a difference in them because, as you're probably aware, moving is one of the most stressful life events.
That's what I hear.
And so, we can provide them a good service in an industry that frankly doesn't have a good reputation. And, we can just help their moving experience go that much better.
Yeah, I hear you. That's definitely something that we're trying to do here as well. So make sure to get the bad smell or stench, whatever you want to call it, out of the moving industry. So
Of
obviously, if
course.
it would be great to have a car shipper that has the same goals versus just making the almighty dollar.
Absolutely.
So, what are some of the risks that consumers face when shipping their vehicle?
You know, I I tell people the first risk is going to Google and searching car shipping on Google. So many of the car shipping options that come up on a Google search are going to be lead generation sites where you put your information into a form and get 8 or 10 different quotes back. Most of the brokers that are buying those leads are they're the high volume brokers. They're the typically the bottom of the industry, and there's just a lot of high pressure sales that go along with that. Within that, there's a lot of bait and switch that goes on with quoting really low prices to get a customer under contract, and then coming back later and charging them a lot more money, during the process. And so what we tell people is, find a company you trust. In our case, we're the preferred car shipping partner for Pods, UPAC, and 1-800 Pack Rat. So, these big national companies that have a lot on the line with their own brand reputation, they've done all the work of vetting out good quality companies because their brand reputation is on the line. And so, we've been serving Pods customers for about 6 years now, and same with UPAC and Packrat. We're about 4 years into them. So, just find a company that's referred by a reputable company, and stay away from Google searches.
And now for a word from our sponsors. If you're a moving business owner, you may have already heard of Moversville, an email marketing service that helps moving companies increase, repeat, and referral business. But have you heard of Moversville Connect? Moversville Connect is an incredible resource for all things moving. They feature an array of vendors and services that cater specifically to the moving industry. You can find companies that provide moving software, moving sales services, marketing services, moving equipment providers, and much, much more. Visit moversville.com today to learn more. Okay, okay. But you are also a car shipping broker. So what makes you different than all those other ones?
So, several things really. I started my company as a carrier, as an asset-based carrier, 22 years ago, and we did. So I've got a lot of experience in that side of it. But today, the thing that really sets us apart is we're with the customer from quote to delivery. Most of the brokers in our industry will quote the customer, match them up with a driver, and then they're out of the equation. They turn the customer directly over to deal with that driver from that point on. And so that's again where when you go to different review sites and see all the horror stories out there about people getting their car shipped, it's because they don't have an advocate staying with them the whole time. And most customers have never shipped a car before, so they don't know what to expect. They don't know what's normal and what's not normal. And so it's very easy for them to be manipulated or taken advantage of throughout this process. At Mr. Car Shipper, we stay with that customer. We're their advocate, and we deal with the driver the entire process except for the actual pickup and delivery, where that takes place. But outside of that, we're doing everything. We don't do COD shipments. So, 99% of the industry, you pay the broker typically a deposit at some point in this process, and then you pay that driver COD at cash on delivery at the end. And we don't do that. We pay the driver. We collect the full amount from the customer, and then we pay the driver after they've submitted a clean bill of lading, showing that there's no issues with the car.
That basically makes the car shipper, or not the car shipper, but the person that's handling the rest of this, right? The driver, more responsible because they know they're not going to get paid unless this is done the correct way, or unless it's clean bill of health of the car at receipt, right?
Right. So yeah, we've got a good contract between the carriers that we use, and so if they cause damage to a car and they're either underinsured or they refuse to take care of it, we can hold that carrier pay as collateral and as the carrot to get them to do the right thing. And we really advocate on behalf of the customer. Really, at that point, we try to take a mediator approach. So we look at the situation as a whole because honestly, there's sometimes customers are trying to take advantage of the carriers and claim pre-existing damage that was pre-existing as transport damage. And so we look at everything not from one side or the other, but to look at really truly what happened and then make a determination of was this likely transport damage or was this something that was pre-existing that the customer shouldn't be holding against the carrier.
Are you a mover looking to make an impact? Discover Moving Letters AI and join the ML Plus Club today to get 100 free letters for your campaign. Elevate your customer engagement with the personal touch of handwritten letters.
If you want to take your company to that next level, it's the only way to subscribe. If you're doing anything but Moving Letters AI, you need to get on it. So it's going to take your business to that next level. You're going to see an increase in that revenue. Let's go.
Don't miss out. Join the revolution and start making moves that matter.
Yeah, I totally get that because I find myself in that boat myself quite often too, because we do handle claims for some of our customers, and if that's the case, I am putting myself in between the company and the customer. I handle those myself personally when it comes to claims. And then as far as other stuff goes, if it's something that's happening on the day of the move, then I always advise my sales reps to act that in between. Don't take one side, don't take the other side, take the two.
Yep.
And
yeah, the
of
way we
course,
look at it is
yeah.
what can you prove in a court of law? And so, what does the evidence provide? Sometimes that's in favor of the customer, sometimes it's in favor of the driver. But at the end of the day, we look at it as if we have to go to court and justify our actions, what can we prove?
Right. So why is the pricing so different?
A lot of it comes down to, we are a premium service. We're providing the customer a lot more value than what most brokers in our industry do. Like I mentioned earlier, most brokers they're high volume brokers. And so they're trying to crank out as many of these as they can. They post them on the load boards. And as soon as it's gone, they step out of the equation. And so, we just provide a lot more of that white glove service. At Mr. Car Shipper, we actually have a contingent cargo policy that rolls in behind every driver that we hire. And so, again, that's something that less than 2 or 3% of brokers in the entire industry carry on the auto shipping side, because again, brokers aren't liable for any damages and it's an expensive policy. So there's really no benefit as they see it to paying for this policy. And since they're not part of the equation once it's been booked with a carrier, they just don't want to have any part of that. Because we're staying with that customer all the way to delivery, we want to provide them with a lot more protections. And so we have that insurance policy. And just at the end of the day, it comes down to we're a premium service. And so since we provide that extra layer of service for the customer, we have to cover our time to provide that stuff.
Okay, great. So now in the moving industry, we also deal with multiple sites that offer different quotes. Of course, we're familiar with Expedia and Travelocity and Priceline and all those sites as well when it comes to vacation and obviously flights and hotels and everything else. So what is your view on that? Should the consumer use one of those sites?
Yeah, in our world, no, because again, it's very high pressure salespeople that are going to be calling you. As soon as you fill out one of those forms, typically within just a minute or two, your phone starts ringing off the hook. You get tons of emails. All those brokers know they're competing with 8 to 10 other brokers, and their sole job is to get you to sign up with them right away. And so there's a lot of pushy sales tactics that are used, just outright lies. I occasionally will fill those out just so I can see what's being said and what they're doing. And it's shocking what some of these guys tell people. They'll tell them anything and everything that could happen to your car, it's covered. The drivers will cover it. Or bait and switch is a really big issue right now. So, you'll see these on Google, $499, $599 car transport quotes. Those don't exist. But it is common for these brokers to quote really low because so here's what happens is they'll quote low, get you under contract and tell you they're going to get it taken care of. A lot of times they'll say, "Oh, we've got a driver that happens to be in the area with another load. We've already got someone lined up. You just need to sign our contract real quick." That's a lie. They don't have that. What happens is they'll get to within a day or two of the customer moving, and then they'll come in with some excuse like the truck broke down or he backed out last minute. But we've got this other one over here, but they need an extra $300 or $400 to get it done. They've always got a really good story that sounds plausible, but at the end of the day, it's nothing but a sales tactic they use on all their customers.
I don't know. I mean, my experience, especially dealing with the moving industry, 20 plus years, right, is you never, ever, ever tell the customer that the truck is broken down.
Oh, that
Because
happens all the
it
time.
happens. The moment you open your mouth and say that, like the whole everything that's going on against you, karma is against you at that point. The moment you say that, I've seen it happen so many times that I'm a firm believer that it happens.
Yep, that's the number one excuse that is used is the truck broke down. So, that's why they say the truck broke down, so we're going to find you someone else to come in and pick it up. The whole time they never had a truck to break down. That's all just an excuse that they're using. But, at that point, the customers within 24 hours of moving, they don't want to start over with anybody else.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so they end up paying that extra money to get it done. And usually the second or the third time that they come in with this, then at that point they actually do have someone. But
Right.
oftentimes it's $200, $300, $400 more than what they were expecting to pay. And that's the bait and switch scheme.
Well, they're putting the customer between the rock and the hard place where they have to do it and then they don't have other choice. They can't, and at that point they have to leave. They have a plane to catch. They may have a bunch of things that are going on.
And the brokers know that, and they know they can get by with it. And a very small percentage of people will actually go complain online. So it's all a numbers game to them.
So I'm assuming that goes the same way, regarding all those websites talk about being insured and everything else.
Yep.
So, why go with the more expensive quotes?
So again, if you see insured on a broker's website, 9 times out of 10, all they're referring to is the trucker's insurance. They, the broker, do not have any insurance in their own name. And, again, we tell customers, if you want to know, ask them to see their contingent cargo policy that has their name on the certificate. And 9 times out of 10, the broker can't supply that because they don't have the policy. Now, as far as why we're more expensive again, some of that does come down to what we pay the drivers. And so we do honest quoting. We don't play these pricing games. We tell the customer up front, this is truly what it's going to cost based on today's pricing. We look at the load boards, and if there's, say, 50 cars going within that route, we look at the top 3 vehicles, and that's how we price ours. That's how we look and see what we're going to pay our carrier, because we want to be in that top. If there's 50 carriers looking at that route, we want to be one of the first or second calls. And so we price it based on what the drivers are charging that day for that route.
So, Jerry, sorry, going back to what you said before in terms of carrying the policy and stuff like that for truckers policy that they're referring to, right? About being insured. So do you carry which you're talking about? Or
Yes.
you're also
Yeah, it's a contingent cargo policy. But here's the big myth around that. Yes, the driver has insurance, but what they don't tell the customer is that deductible is typically going to be starting around $3,000 and going as high as $10,000 or $15,000. Most car transport damages that occur are less than that $3,000 deductible amount.
Mm-hmm.
So
Sure.
most damages don't even qualify to be turned into an insurance claim.
Yeah,
And so,
that's what I tell sometimes when the customers, when they're really pushing for a full valuation, I tell them, well, you can get it, sure, but just keep in mind you got a deductible that you got to pay for. and then you got the price of the insurance itself. So if you're taking, for example, a $500 deductible, and they're charging you $300, $400 for the fact that you're getting that insurance through the company, so that means you have to have $800 worth of damage in order to see any money back from what you paid. So, and usually, of course, at least the way that movers work, and I'm sure that was the same way everywhere else, it's if they know that the customer is getting that type of policy, it's kid gloves versus somebody that does the regular 60 cents a pound.
Yeah, I mean, with the car transport industry, I as a broker, I don't know um really what the policy itself says for the carriers we hire. They won't supply that. They only tell us what their limits are.
Mm-hmm.
And so we can see what their deductible is and we can see what their max limit is. That's really it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's anymore with insurance costs just continually going up, drivers are trying to keep those premiums affordable. And so the only way they're able to do that is to either go with a lower quality policy that doesn't cover as much, or they're raising their deductibles. In a lot of cases, they're doing both. And so that's an area where a lot of these brokers are just lying to customers. They're telling the customer anything that happens to the vehicle is covered, but they're not telling them that the truck driver is going to likely have a $3,000 or $4,000 deductible, and any damage that happens to your car, unless it's major damage,
Mm-hmm.
typically won't even qualify to get turned in. And so now at that point, is that driver going to willingly admit that he damaged the car, which is rare?
Probably not.
If he does admit he does it, is he going to pull $1,000 or $1,500 out of his pocket to pay the customer? That's just as rare. And so that's why you see so many reviews online of people saying my car got damaged and they didn't take care of it. And so those are areas that we really try to not only help protect the customer, but guide them through those processes when it happens.
Okay. So Jerry, so what is your perfect customer when it comes to a person that's buying the coverage or using your service, using Mr. Car Shipper? And what is your perfect carrier that's going to actually carry out the shipment?
Yep. So really our perfect customer is anybody that's moving over 500 miles. Um, Anything less than that, people tend to just drive their cars. So anywhere from 500 miles to cross country, 25 or 33,000 miles. Beyond that, the car really doesn't matter. We work with customers that are moving as early as a couple days from when they call us to 2 or 3 months out, and so anywhere in between. Really, my perfect customer is someone who just wants to be taken care of and who wants quality over cheap price. And we tell people up front, if you're just looking for the cheapest quote, that's not going to be us. You get what you pay for, just like in any other industry.
Yeah, it's all about value.
Yep. So as far as the perfect carrier is communication, honestly, we want carriers who have good equipment and honest drivers who will just communicate what's going on. We understand that things come up, trucks break down, schedules change. We can handle all of that and work around it as long as they communicate with us. The thing that we don't tolerate at all is a driver who will ghost us or not communicate when things aren't going right, because then we can only relay to the customer what information we're being given, and if we're not relaying accurate information, that makes us look bad. And so, we would rather give the customer bad news but accurate news versus either nothing or just making something up. And so, one thing that we are really proud to announce about 2 months ago, we started a tracking service where the customer can actually track their vehicle on their own. It's tracking the vehicle, not the driver. And so we call it MCS Live Track. And as long as they book their shipping at least 3 or 4 days prior to their move date, we can send them this tracker that they put in the glove box of their car. And then we've got a portal. They can go on 24/7 and see exactly where their car is. As far as I know, we're the first in the industry to offer that. There are a couple companies out there that are offering tracking, but it's either a phone call to the driver or they're tracking them through an app on their phone, and those can be manipulated. The phone can be shut off, the app can be disabled, any number of ways. We've even seen cases where the driver gets fired or quits in the middle of a shipment, And so it looks like he's one place, but the car is actually a different place. And so with our service, you're tracking your actual vehicle and you know exactly where it's at all times.
Well, that's great. It's nice to hear more people that are trying to do that. Like I only worked with licensed companies within my realm. Obviously, it's moving. Obviously, it's sales. Um, but I think it's important that we clean up all these consumer related industries that are so unfortunately known for more bad than good. So
Mhm.
car shipping, moving in that regard, we're in the same realm where we're dealing with a lot of bad players that make those of us that do good work look bad. And that's
Absolutely.
something that we 100% try to stay away from. Of course, in our case, we're not a broker, so we're dealing directly with the customer and directly with the moving company. And same as you, we're carrying the customer from start to finish. We're not done at the point of sale. And I
Yes.
think that that makes a big difference because that keeps your salespeople, my salespeople, it keeps them honest. Because nobody wants to go through a situation where you quoted somebody one price and it's this nice old 80-year-old lady that's also nice that you could see her being your grandma, right? And then you have to call them and tell them that you screwed up. Nobody wants to go through that. Nobody
I,
wants to be the bearer of those news, especially if you were the one to get them through the door and you're the one that walked them through it and set everything up. It's horrible what some people are willing to do, and I think it is very much about, frankly, having a conscience.
yeah, and you know, we're also one of the only companies I've found that we guarantee our price. Once we sign that contract, we guarantee that it will not change. And if we screw up and we misquoted it or something happened,
That's your
um,
problem.
it's our problem. And there have been cases where we've paid $300-400 more than what we're collecting from the customer just to get the job done. And so, um, you know, it's that just goes back to honesty and integrity. Those are a couple of our pillars that we live by. And um, you know, if we say we're going to do something, we do it. And if something comes up that's out of our control, we communicate with the customer, good or bad, what's going on.
Well, Jerry, that's great. That's definitely a breath of fresh air from the car shipping side of the industry. And guys, we're gonna make sure that we put all the links here for Mr. Car Shipper, so you can reach out to Jerry and his team and let them take care of your customer when it comes to car shipping. You know, I think all of us in the industry would love to have a go-to. Yeah, so what if it's a little bit more money? If, you know, we want our customers taken care of, not just on our side, but on the other side, because it makes up for overall good experience, which of course leads to positive reviews for us, for Jerry, for the moving company. Jerry, once again, thank you very much for joining us for this podcast and for taking your time. Really appreciate having you on.
Yeah, I appreciate being here. And just one last thing, you know, I know you have a lot of moving providers watching this, and so uh, back to the ideal customer, like that's our ideal customer is most of our business comes from referrals. We have referral partners, like I mentioned with Paz and UPAC and just other moving companies, and so you know we're here to help you guys look good and take care of your customers, and so you know we'd love the opportunity to work with any of the moving companies out there.
There you go. Guys, you will have access to Jerry's information so you can reach out. But once again, thank you very much for joining Let's Talk to Moving for the podcast. And like I always say, the world moves on its own, so let the professionals move yours for you. Thank you very much for joining us, and we'll talk to you soon.